Hello, welcome to Cookbook Roulette. This is the series where I put all my cookbooks into a spinning wheel generator on my phone, and then we randomly spin the wheel, and then we randomly get a cookbook, and then I randomly flip to a page, and that's what we cook with. So the cookbooks on this wheel this time are Nerdy Nummies, Texture of a Taste, Social Media, which is all my social media platforms of Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest, and then I'll randomly pick a recipe from there. Baking all year round, tasty desserts, tasty latest and greatest, Plant You, Justine Cooks, and the Great British Bake Off Cookbook. So with all that said and done, let's spin the wheel. We got the Great British Bake Off, which I don't actually think is a cookbook that I have used. So let me go grab it and then we'll randomly flip to a page. Here is the cookbook. As you can see, I've tabbed it, but like I said, I haven't cooked with it. So let's pick a recipe. Big raspberry cake. Ooh. Okay, I'll make a raspberry cake. This is the recipe that we got. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to go to the grocery store to get things for it, but let's take a look at the recipe and see if I can do this. If I can, I will see you in the kitchen. So it is later, I have had lunch, and then I went to the grocery store because I didn't have any raspberries, any sugar, or any self-rising flour, so I had to go get all those. But now we're ready to cook. So just to clarify, I am making the big raspberry cakes, the big raspberry cake, and it says when fresh raspberries are at their midsummer finest, make this huge sponge cake to eat after a barbecue with scoops of ice cream. It is not summer. We in fact got our first big snowfall yesterday in Park City, so perfect timing. First step, preheat oven to 180. Put the butter into a bowl. I'm gonna preheat the oven. And 180 degrees is 350 Fahrenheit. I also did some mise en place, which is preparing everything before you start cooking, just so it's like, ooh, bowl, and I don't have to run around with measuring cups. I feel like a proper chef now. But now that the oven is preheated, put the butter into a mixing bowl and beat with a wooden spoon or electric mixer for a minute until the butter is smooth and creamy. I was just softening my butter in the microwave, which I know is something you're not supposed to do, but I don't care. And I'm going to use my wooden spoon from the Big Bakes, which is the Great British Bake Off-esque cooking experience in London, and I think it's also in some other places, which is so much fun, and I have a video of me doing it with my dad, so if you haven't seen that video, go and check it out. Now I'm going to gradually add in the eggs. I have 4 beaten eggs that I'm just going to add in gradually. Yeah. Now that I have a few tablespoons left of the egg left, they say to start incorporating some of the flour. They also say to sift it, but I don't care. The flour's biting back. You may or may not remember, but I said that I needed to go to the store. And I'm also not very good at time management, so people were at the house and I'm too socially anxious to actually cook and talk to a camera at the same time, so I switched over to doing overhead shots. That's why you can no longer see me, but basically I incorporated the eggs and some of the flour into the sugar and the butter, and now I'm adding the rest of the flour, and I'm not sifting it, like I said, because I don't care. And then they also asked for a little bit of ground almonds. I didn't have ground almonds, I had almond flour, which is ground almonds. I also probably should have gotten a bigger bowl because at this point I was struggling. I thought I was gonna be okay with the size bowl that I had, but I was wrong. Good job, me. So now I'm just folding in. They said to fold it until there weren't any streaks of flour left, and I'm assuming this is because you don't want to overmix the batter. With box cake mixes, you can mix it for like 2, 3, 4 minutes. Like I once had a cake mix where you had to mix it for 10 minutes. But when you are making homemade cakes, you really do not want to overmix the batter. I don't know why. I am not a scientist. I am just a person who has a bunch of cookbooks. Anyway, I'm mixing this up, and that's all the commentary I'm going to say. Let's just get to the next interesting part. And here is the next interesting part where I'm adding the raspberries, and definitely not struggling to get them out of the colander. I don't know why that was such a struggle, but I'm adding about half in. I'm just guessing. I could have pulled out my scale, but I didn't feel like doing that. I honestly probably should have done less guessing because this cake, spoiler alert, didn't turn out that great, but you could tell that by the title of this video. Now I'm gently folding in the raspberries because I didn't want them to break very much. They will break a little bit, but I really didn't want to have just raspberry mush in the cake. And why I'm only adding in half the raspberries is because they say fold in half the raspberries and then you put the other half of the raspberries on top, and those will sink down while you're baking so that there's some suspension of berries, because I know that's quite a difficult thing. Like when you bake cakes with inclusions, often they all just sink to the bottom. I just prepared the cake tin with oil. I didn't do any baking paper or flour or sugar or anything. I just did plain oil. And now I wanted to try and dollop this in while in frame, but what you couldn't tell is my filming setup was actually quite close to my face, so it was quite difficult to see what I was doing, and I was too self-conscious at this point to be futzing around. I was kind of like, I just need to get this done. I just need to get this cake in the oven. And as you might see now is I don't have a lot of batter, and like you'll hear later on in the video, but I think I am using the wrong size cake pan. They didn't specify the size of cake pan, therefore I think my spring form cake pan, which they did specify spring form cake pan, is too big. So that's fun. Smooth. This part is always so satisfying to me. I did speed it up here because I am quite slow with my smoothing, but this is because it's like my Zen garden moment. Get to just make it all smooth and just have a nice calm time. Now I'm going in and adding the remaining half of the raspberries, and I was very skeptical about this gonna work because you might not have been able to tell, but this was a thin layer of batter, and I just didn't think for the time that it was gonna take that these berries were adequately gonna sink. And also this was a thick batter. It wasn't like it was a thin cheesecake-esque almost batter or like pancake batter. But anyway, I took it away and put it in the oven. Now, is it burnt? Maybe, but this is what it looked like when it came out of the oven, and I just dusted it with powdered sugar like they said. So I decided to garnish it with some fresh raspberries. They didn't say that, and then it may or may not be burnt, but they'll have to try that later and see if it is. So here is the cross section. Here's the piece I cut from my dad. Oh, look, it looks so pretty. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be in the thumbnail. Okay. What do you think? Is it good? How burnt is it?
No, it's delicious.
Really? Good enough for me to take to babysitting tomorrow? Okay. I'm glad you like it.
Thank you.
Any critiques?
I'm not sure the kids are going to like the raspberries, are they? That's okay.
These kids once put blueberries on their pizza. They're weird kids, but I love them so much. So it is later, you just saw my dad try it, and here are my final thoughts and review. First up, I didn't love the recipe. It wasn't very clearly laid out. It would tell me to put the cakes in a prepared pan, but never did it tell me how to prepare the pan. Some cakes like to do butter and turbinado sugar, some cakes like to do oil, some cakes like to do butter and flour. So I just was I didn't love that part. Also, it didn't tell size of pan. That's why I think mine got burnt. I think they were using a smaller springform pan where mine was bigger, and that's why mine got more cooked quicker, because it was even on the lowest rack in my oven. Another thing is it said that the raspberries would sink in. Some did, some didn't, but I think I'm just being a bit nitpicky. But my biggest critique of it is I love photos in cookbooks, and I think every recipe needs a photo. And this one didn't have, so I didn't know what the finished product was supposed to look like. So that's where I had a little bit of trouble with the recipe. But otherwise, I really enjoyed it. It was really easy. All the ingredients were really easy. It was really easy to actually do, except for the parts where I had fault. But otherwise, it was really easy to do it all by hand. As you saw, I did it all by hand with a glass bowl, and really easy. With all that said, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Cookbook Roulette. She's confused because her basket has been moved. Get in your basket. Come on, I'll put your basket in your proper spot. Hold on. There you go, girl. Get in your basket. There we go. Yeah, you're the star of this YouTube channel, aren't you, sweet girl? I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Not this week's, this isn't a weekly series. I hope you enjoyed this video of Cookbook Roulette. If you did, let me know in the comments down below. You could like this video if you wanted to, and you could even subscribe. The button's the same color as my hoodie. And let me know which cookbooks I should buy and Cookbook Roulette, or if I have a cookbook in this rotation that you think I should just do next time and not really have the element of surprise, or let me know just anything. Let me know anything. What's your favorite color? I don't know. Anyway, I will see you in another video next week, which is going to be spooky season themed because spooky season. Anyway, I'll see you in another video. Bye for now.